Rashida Jones and Will McCormack. You guys directed the Oscar-shortlisted documentary short, A Swim Lesson, and it's such a lovely and important film about Bill Marsh, this incredible swim coach. And when did you first hear about Bill and his really unique approach to teaching kids how to swim?
I started to hear about him when I had my son. So like probably about 6 years ago, I started hearing about this guy who does this intensive training for kids. And it is like the first thing you think about when you have a kid is like, how am I going to save them from, you know, being in the water and being able to swim in the water. And I was super lucky because during lockdown, I think a lot of people probably canceled. And so I got a spot at somebody's house and we were wearing masks in the pool. It was like in the middle of COVID. We didn't know what was going on yet. But I just watched this, he was already such a beautiful character because he was so present with those kids. And there was one kid in my son's class who cried from the minute we started until the end of day 8. He swam, but he cried the whole time. I never stopped crying unless he was underwater. And it was so interesting to watch him. He was so tender and present with this kid, never gave up on him. And also the fact is he gained a skill, like through his own emotion, he gained the skill. And I just thought, God, what an interesting process to be able to be privy to as a parent, as a person. And then Will and I, years later, we both of our sons were taking the lesson again, and we were just standing next to each other listening to Bill, just you know all this wisdom just like coming out of the pool that was like about swimming and also not about swimming. And we were like, God, I wish he could come to my house in the morning and take my hand and be like, you're not in charge. Like your brain's not in charge. Let's go. Like take my hand. So there was so much. It was so rich.
Yeah, for sure. Well, how about you?
Yeah, it was just he's just a local teacher, and it was something that in Southern California, as Rashida said, one of the first things you think about is safety in and around pools, and we want to keep our kids alive, um and Bill is just it's something you going to take your kid to swimming class is something that is so ordinary and something sort of mundane, and it's really truly a testament to Bill that it ended up being this extraordinary experience filled with presence and so much to mine, and so it became so suddenly astonishingly profound, and that's truly just a testament to Bill.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's about water safety, obviously, and this is a life-saving skill, but there's literally like life or death stakes. But the way he contextualizes everything is so great with like his metaphors of like the dragon and everything and getting the treasure, which I think also works very well when you're working with kids too, is like conquering your fear.
Yeah. But again, it's like, they're 2 and 3, and it's no different than anything we face in our own lives. And it's like, you know, watching these little souls like trying to figure out a path, either to, push through their own resistance and their own fear to accomplish something and then feel so good about it. Like it's the same journey every single time, whether you're 2 or you're 50. And seeing that and seeing like the resilience and the fortitude in those kids, like it's incredibly inspiring. Like Bill sees that in them. He's the one who can really recognize that humanity in them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you guys approached him about doing the doc, what was his reaction? Did he have any hesitation, and why a short instead of a feature length film?
Good question. Yeah, go ahead. Well,
Well,
yeah.
I think he was initially sort of other people had pitched an idea of a documentary to him before, and no one had ever done it. Just like very maybe very Hollywood, like, oh, we should make a movie, and so no one ever did it. But I think that once we sat down with them and talked about why we wanted to do it and why we're interested in making a film, um, it got very real very fast, and he was totally open to it, and he's very charismatic and very wise and very serious about what he does. Like he's very passionate about teaching, and it just felt truly organic to make a movie with him. I don't know Um, I don't know how many people had approached him, but we were the first ones that sat down and we were very serious about it. And, you know, it happened during the strike, and it just became this film just became like a lamplight in the dark. I mean, you know, personally, like I had lost my parents in the last couple of years, and I have small kids, and you know, this moment with Bill just felt like an opportunity to be really present and really available to this story. And he's just so charismatic on film. It was just a really rewarding film to make.
Mhm.
He's so, he's so deep in his process while he's doing this work that, he still says that it's like he didn't even know that we were there because he's just with the kids. So in that way, it's such a blessing as filmmakers because you're really just capturing something that's happening, and nothing has to be performed at you. We really, really just got to, the kids got used to us very quickly, even when our cameras were, submerged in water. And we just, we were just like witnesses to this thing that was happening.
Yeah. Right. And why a short instead of a feature length?
You know,
Good question.
I I'm very passionate about shorts. You know, we made a an animated short film a couple years ago called "If Anything Happens, I Love You," that did really well and won the Academy Award and became super. It spread worldwide. I think that short form and short films you can have as big and as profound as cathartic experience as you can in 20 minutes as you can in 2.5 hours. And this movie, I think that there was just a parsimony that we were seeking, and it felt like it had like a brevity and a musicality to it that just felt like a short. I mean, honestly, the first day when Zippy rolled in, I think we all felt like, oh my God, do we have a feature? Should this be a feature? But I think from the jump, it always felt like a short, and we were always, we're passionate about that form of storytelling, and I think a 20-minute film can have a real impact in a way that a 2 hour film just doesn't. You know, it has a different type of impact, but there's something about that short form content that just packs a punch. And it just felt so germane to this story right from the beginning.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And also
there's,
like his, yeah, oh, go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
please, 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 please. Sorry.
Oh no, I just thought because it was fitting because like his course is 8 days, right? And you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
so short. I'm like, that's also
Yeah.
kind of fitting for a short. Like you watched
Yes,
like 21 minutes.
exactly. Exactly. There was a natural structure to the process that worked with the film. And the truth is, like, it is, like Will said, like having this, it's all of the emotions are so intense in all of the moments of the film. You get that kind of feeling when you're watching as a parent where you're like, it's 8 days, but it kind of felt like 6 months because your kid goes through so much so quickly. And I think we kind of intended for that to happen with the movie too. Like, it's 20 minutes, but like you really get this like opera of emotion from beginning to end. Where, like, I don't think it feels longer because of that, it's sort of like a quality thing where you're like, it's a small amount of time and there's a lot of intensity of emotion in that short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, Rashida, you've made a doc about your dad, who's an icon and everyone knows he is. So when it comes to someone like Bill, who is not well known to the general public, how do you guys approach, or I guess like, do you guys feel pressure of wanting to do right by him and introducing him to the world?
Yeah, I mean, for me with documentary, one of the greatest gifts is being able to tell somebody's story and really share their essence with the world. And I think that's a major responsibility because the last thing I ever want is for somebody to feel like they didn't see themselves, in the film. Um, so yes, that was super important to us. But then within that, we have to make decisions about how much time we spend outside of the film, how much we focus on, Bill's life, because Bill has had a super interesting life, and the way he talks about his family and his mother and how she raised him is actually very meaningful in terms of who he is as a teacher. But I think for us, like, the film really was in the pool. It was about his relationship with these kids, and it's about the kind of the humanity that is born out of adversity. And I think that's a story Bill really wants to tell too in his own work. So we had to kind of make some decisions around what not to tell, but it wasn't because of any other reason. Just we wanted to make sure that the story felt focused and complete, really.
Hmm. So what was the filming process like, and how do you guys work together as co-directors?
We've actually never directed together before. So this was like a new, we write together, we produce together, we friend together, but we've never directed together. But it's super natural for us because we're like brother and sister, and in some ways we share a brain, and then in some ways we have like compatible skill sets, that are kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. Like Will's always really good about the poetry of something. He can always see the big thematic um, arc of something, and he's looking for the little moments that are going to like plug into that thematic arc. And I think I'm like maybe like a more of like pipe layer. I want to make sure that all the structure's there and that we have the thing that we can return to later in the film. So it was really like it was very fluid. We just kind of, we were on set. We both had monitors. Like we had Alex, our wonderful DP, and a couple other cameramen. And so we would like, if we saw something that was happening, we would kind of tiptoe over to a camera and be like, make sure we get this, like something's going on right now. And can you pick up the accompanying shot on the other side? And we would just like keep track of the things that were happening that we knew we wanted to have in the film. Like, and also we just kind of knew viscerally, like things would happen and we would both cry or look at each other like, god, I can't believe we're getting this on film, like this has to be in the movie. um it was pretty, it was pretty fluid, that we didn't have like a plan in that sense.
Yeah, I think thematically and creatively, we're always sort of moving in the same direction. And I think, and then within that, we have different skill sets. I really, truly admire Rashida's guts in post, in cutting. She's so brave, and she has such a strength to say, yeah, that's great, but how we don't need it. And the truth is, when you get rid of it and you make it leaner and tighter, I struggle with that more. And Rashida's also worked in documentaries before and worked so well in documentaries before that I learned a lot from working with her. But I really truly, when it comes to editing and the sort of putting the movie together process, she's really good at it.
Hmm. Yeah.
We also had the most incredible editor, Most
Ever.
Debbie. So it was just like having like a third partner, it made so he just made it so easy because he's a really beautiful artist.
Hmm.
Yeah, our cinematographer and our editor and our sound editor and our producers, we had a truly, truly great team.
Yeah, I mean, like speaking of fluidity, I just love how the film just feels overall. It feels very ethereal, like and it goes back to like what Bill says about swimming. Like it feels like you're flying, and you kind of
Mm,
get that sense watching the film because even when the camera's underwater, it kind of feels like you're floating, and it's this like
mm,
dream state. And so that was something you guys were going for.
For sure.
definitely. Yes. Thank you for saying. Yes,
Yeah.
we were, the air, the water, underwater, in the, flying, swimming, it all is kind of one piece. And also there is like some stuff with like, we're born of water. We are water. Like there is just this thing that we're just kind of like, it is a bit embryonic to the movie. Like it's supposed to feel there's a birth process of learning how to swim. Um, and you could see like the kids when they do submerge in water, like it looks so organic, like it's where they're supposed to be. It doesn't feel like they're visiting another planet. Like it really is part of them.
Yeah.
We wanted to get that across. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Bill says in the movie, like, they just got here from wherever they came from, and it's where we're going, where this whole thing ends. And so it felt like, um, that felt like a dream, like the way that he was talking about the movie felt like a dream. But water and music really, drove the story for us. It felt there was a musicality to it and sort of a dreaminess to it just right from the beginning.
Hmm. I love how the film also really doesn't focus on the parents or their reactions. Like there's this bit part with River's mom and the towel and everything, but you guys don't feature any interviews with them, and we just see shots of them staring silently while their kids are trying to swim. And can you talk about that decision? Because I feel like that it also again fits with Bill's philosophy of trying to empower the kids and what he says about parents are too often chasing kids' happiness and they want to help them through pain. They don't want to see them hurt,
Mm.
but it's actually better for kids to and their self-reliance and independence to try to work through obstacles on their own.
Yeah. Well, yes, we did interviews and stuff with the parents, and there were cuts of the film where there was more of their response, but ultimately we felt like Bill asks the parents to be neutral and not say anything. And that felt like the right representation of the process because that's exactly what's going on. So to get an insight into their head, that felt like a different movie, you know, just didn't quite, it didn't line with sort of like, the vision that we had, which was to like kind of keep it at the pool and keep it the kids' point of view and Bill's point of view. But it's fascinating to talk to the parents because they don't get to say anything, and so they were happy to kind of talk about it because it's not easy to do that when you watch your kid suffering, like just fully hands off, with a stranger,
What were some of those conversations with the parents that really stuck with you?
Um, I think like talking to Zippy's mom about she had come out from a different state to work with Bill because Zippy had been in other classes and they hadn't had any kind of breakthroughs, and I think like there was one version of the film where we had the mother said, you're not in charge, is a very powerful thing to hear. So for her, I think as a parent, she was like, wait, maybe I can recalibrate how I work, how I communicate with my daughter in a way that's going to help her and make her feel, good about taking risks. Because I think she was really upset. So it feels like, oh God, she's really upset. I have to find a way to make her not that upset. But I think the mom sort of was like, I can say that to her and she can still freak out and that's okay. And I think that was a new revelation for her.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to want to protect your kids from pain. And when you take your kids to swim class, inexorably, it's going to be a pain. There's going to be some pain involved. There's a struggle involved at least. And so I think the parents were sort of getting used to that. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not want to do it. It's okay to scream. It's okay to burp and vomit. But the truth is when Bill says we're going to do it anyway, that's life. It's not always supposed to feel great, but we're going to do it anyway. Learning to swim is that way. Parenting is that way. Screenwriting is that way. Breaking up is that way. Dying's that way. Falling in love is that way. Falling out of love, like it's just one of the first times in your life where you get this lesson as a parent, and it's one of the first times you have to like let go and not fix your kid's problem, but just be there for them after class and wrap them up in the towel and say, we're going to come back tomorrow. And it's a really profound thing, and that's truly a testament to Bill. Just a really gifted teacher.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what does it mean for you guys to have the doc shortlisted at the Oscars? Well, you won an Oscar, you've been through this before. But Rashida, for you, like for this to happen, just a couple weeks after you accepted your dad's honorary Oscar on his behalf at the Governor's Awards, a beautiful speech. Like, what does it mean for you guys to have this in the conversation this year?
Honestly, it's such an honor, mainly because it means more people are going to see it. Shorts are kind of a category that are, I think people find it hard to find. Like, where do you watch it? How do you get it to people? And so being shortlisted means that more people are going to know this name. Like there's a press release. It's like, there's 15 movies. So now these are the sort of movies you can watch. That's the beauty of it, is that like, it's just accessibility. And this is the kind of movie, like really our goal is to get everybody to watch it because as we have a card in the film, it says that half of the world doesn't know how to swim. And, you know, if this inspires 5 people to, get their kid to learn how to swim, to get themselves to learn how to swim, to just get up in the morning and do the next thing that they don't want to do, whatever it is, like that's five more people, like this is about just getting the message out to the world, really. And the short list is a huge opportunity for that. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really, really nice.
yeah, to echo that, I mean, it's a huge honor to be in the company of so many filmmakers and storytellers that we admire and who have inspired us in our own work. And then, yeah, I mean, the goal of the movie is to get more people comfortable in and around pools and near water. And if that does that for one person, then that makes us really happy. And being on the short list and having the chance to be nominated gives more visibility to the film and more visibility to pools and swimming and swim safety. And that's super meaningful to us. So it's really exciting. It's really humbling.
Yeah. Well, Bill is such an excellent teacher. Who is the best teacher you guys have ever had?
Bill.
Oh, maybe
Bill.
Bill.
Besides Bill, Bill excluded.
Maybe Bill. But
I,
I had a teacher, I had a philosophy teacher in high school, Dr. Holbeck, that I loved so much. And he had something in common with Bill because he did not treat us like teenagers. He taught us like brains that had the capacity to learn and think for ourselves. And he was, some people found him kind of gruff, and I loved him because I just felt like he saw something in me. He saw something in the way that I thought, and he really nurtured that in a way that made me feel like an adult, really, like a person who was capable of like having kind of big existential, um, you know, thoughts about life.
Yeah. Well, how about you?
I've been so lucky to have so many great teachers, but my whole life I really wanted to be a writer, a professional writer, and I really struggled with confidence. And looking back on my life, I can think about an English teacher I had in high school, Mrs. Roach, who just gave me the confidence to know that I have my own voice and to believe that I could do that. And I'm not sure I believed it then, but like looking back, you can see those roots were planted there. Um, and you need someone. We're all looking for that person to say, I believe in you and I see you. And that was something nice for us about a swim lesson is, these kids dive under the water and it feels like they're gonna, never come out the other side, and they come out the other side and they see Bill, and then, he says, I see you. And what a great thing to have someone to go through a struggle and have someone on the other side acknowledge that struggle and see you for it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, lastly, on a slightly different note, not to make us all feel old, but Rashida, next month is the 10th anniversary of Parks and Rec's finale, and you were in the 2025 timeline. So, and it's been 5 years since
Yeah.
you guys did the
It
COVID
was
special.
2025. Wait, were we in 2025
Yeah,
at the
you
end?
like Anna and Chris come back in 2025,
So
Wow.
crazy.
and so,
That's
so
so
when can we
crazy.
get the next Parks and Rec reunion?
Oh man, I hope sometime soon. I know Mike Schur was like it has to be, there has to be a reason for us to do it. We can't just do it, but I wowould love that. I'm ready anytime. Yeah.
We have to do it every 5 years now, so there we go. We could
Yeah,
make
there you
a
go.
whole episode about
Yeah. We have to
2025
do
now.
we have to do the
Exactly.
2035 one now. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. It was great speaking with both of you, and congratulations again on the short.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really are grateful. Thank you.